is a very special day. The breeze took the clouds all away. It swept the sky like a broom and got ready for a very special day. This is a very special time. Show me a hill I can climb. Give me a mountain to move, and I'll prove that it's a very special day. I woke up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day. Up early this morning with gloom on my head. Had a big feeling to climb back in bed. Then I looked in the mirror and somebody said, wake up, wake up. It's time for you to lose the blues, and this is a very special treat. Tell it to everyone you meet that life is all for living and love is all for giving. So this is a very special day. Tell it to everyone along the way that this is a very special day.
Special day. It's a wonderful Wednesday. That means my partner in crime, my co-host this morning, is Bradley Gilbert. Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning, Becky.
Bradley, I don't think we should have just stayed right here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Yeah,
good to see you again.
Good to see you. Seems like it's been a long time.
Just a few hours. Yeah. But anyway, so I'm so glad to have our Wednesday, and this is Education Wednesday, and we have our own Salem School Corporation, woo-woo, in the house. We have Kim Thurston, and we have Jill Myers, and our superintendent, and we're so glad to have with us, and thank you for coming in this morning.
Thank you for having us.
Morning,
excited
Becky.
to be here.
Good morning. All right, let's thank our sponsors, Bradley.
All right, we've got Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Hoosier Uplands, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Rosa's, Fox Riley Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, and McAllister Land Consulting.
All right, yay, thank you to our great sponsors. And we did complete election coverage. Actually, it went on a little bit longer than you and I had anticipated, which was a great problem, actually, because polls closed at 6 and everybody kept saying, take the airways, go, get on. I got texting. So we did kind of take it about 6:10, 6:15. Yeah. Well, we didn't realize how much longer it was going to take to get those precincts in, because we had so many that came out to vote. For Washington County, 65%, Scott County, 65%, and Harrison was 70%.
Harrison County was 71%.
How wonderful.
Orange County, 67%. Floyd County, 67%. So everybody, always, regardless of which side of any aisle you are on, just getting out and participating, that is amazing. And I talked about it last night, and I'm gonna figure out, and we've got some educators here in the building with us, and I would be interested to find out if on the local level, because it did happen on a national level, but I would state level especially, but I would be interested to see how it looked like. It seemed like a higher percentage of our younger voters and first-time voters getting out yesterday. So I wish we had that good deep dive in that data, but it's always good to see the younger kids out voting, participating, and thank you to the school systems that are passing that on, and families passing that on, how important it is. So.
Well, I think that's something, hats off to our educators, and I'm going to say Salem School Corporation. I know there were several mock elections, which I'm so proud of our teachers and our putting all that together, and that was a lot to do, And my daughter got to come and be a part, and she was telling me all about it. And I've told this story several times, but it was between the M&Ms and Skittles, and M&Ms pulled ahead by 1 point, But she was and one thing that I love, she was amazed at our 5th graders how much they actually knew about elections and how much in the know they were. She didn't know where they would be. She's not an educator, but but she was like they knew a lot. And I have to say, I said, well, that right there speaks volumes of our teachers. And, this is something that we talk about, that if you can get them excited and get them comfortable at an early age and kind of understand the process, then that hopefully then when they are able to, to register to vote and to be a part of it, that will be something that will do. And I know that our high school teachers too, taking and making sure that that everyone get out and vote. And I think Salem School Corporation was very well done, and hats off to all of our educators that that got involved in making it a fun way to learn. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So that was pretty cool.
Yes, and I don't know if you heard the lunch choice vote.
Oh yes, okay. We were wanting to know.
Yes, chocolate milk and the chicken leg.
Oh, very excellent. I'm all in for that. So yeah, I'm part of that. I would be part of that electorate every day of the week.
I
so,
agree.
Me too. That's my vote as well.
I'm not even mad.
Only any kind of chicken, but no milk.
Yeah, I'm on any of that. See, and that was fun too, to do that. You know what I mean? And of course, you bring food into it, it even makes it a little more fun, Yeah. And I think that the big thing, not red or blue, but we all are red, white, and blue. And we know now, with the outcome, this is where we all work together and everybody for the same common goal, and and bringing our talents, bringing our thoughts together to be the best we can be as our community, and and even our surrounding communities, and a school corporation too. We want to say we do have 4, and this is unofficial. And it won't be official until 7 days, correct? Right?
10 days when the election board meets.
Okay,
yeah.
10
Normally
days.
It's 7, but this time it's 10 days because the way the calendar is. So,
okay, so 10 days it will be official, but the way it looks for Salem School Corporation, we'll have Sweeney, Humphrey, Ezell, and Cockrell. So it's exciting. And then for West Washington and Eastern, they were both unopposed.
They were, yeah.
All right, there we go. So that was a lot. We also have some other races that and you can go back and listen and watch, and we've got them up so you can kind of keep in the know there.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Exciting. All right.
Absolutely. And on a personal note, I'm sorry, and I know we got these wonderful people here. We want to get to Education Wednesday, but you're talking about the school board, and we talked about Carrie Cameron last night, but I feel the same way. There was 3 of us that we were unopposed, but we got out there and talked to people, and as a first-time candidate, it is really humbling, and the people that talked to us and reached out to all of us, but me especially, as far as just from a personal note, as a first-time candidate, it's tough to put yourself out there, and even when you're in the general unopposed, it is a humbling, and I am so grateful for the people that did not have to vote in that race, because we were 1 vote. I could have voted for myself and called it a night, but I got to talk to some great people along this journey and got to know people, and people that maybe agreed with me, people that did not agree with me, and but it was great conversations, and I think it is humbling, but we have great people out there. So my takeaway from a newly, county councilman-elect, my takeaway is, regardless of which side of the aisle that you hang your hat, and even with the nonpartisan races, we go forward, and we've got to remember that we're all servant leaders, and especially now more than ever, we've got to move forward and listen to each other, talk to each other. Don't be afraid to disagree, but don't be afraid to say, I've changed my mind. I think that's not my idea, but that's a great idea, and I think that's important. So I do want to thank all the people that texted this morning. I'm sorry, I did try to sleep for a couple 3 hours, but I appreciate it. And one last thing, I've got amazing family. My family that watched from Florida. My mom, who ironically enough, she had had an accident and she's in the healing process of that. But they came back from Florida, seeing my much younger, older brother who listens to us, this way from Florida. And
Love that.
but I am so blessed. But
Yeah.
I did not realize until yesterday. Sometimes you don't think about it, but I have got a lot of people in the community that just I respect, I trust, and I love, and I'm appreciative for every single one of them. So I'm
Love
looking
that.
forward to getting to know a lot more people in the county. Sorry,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah,
I had
we
to
know.
take that
Listen,
personal note.
congratulations. No, that's yeah.
So I think
got
that's important to thank
yeah.
the people.
absolutely. We got 3 new county council
Yeah.
members. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's exciting
Yeah.
to see. All right, we'll see you. And of course, we got a new commissioner added to the Tony Cardwell added to the list. And again, these are unofficial, so we shall see. Time will tell.
So I do, switching back to we talked about the school board. So the school board race for Salem, 2 people that were already on there, and then 2 newcomers. So 2 newbies, you know. And so you guys are leaders in Salem Community Schools. You're on the school board. How do you think, just kind of like not knowing, how do you think a learning curve?
We were all 3 nervous.
Yeah, sorry.
We don't know where you're going with
this
this.
is a good thing it's not TV, because
I
I got all 3 people going,
know.
oh, Brad, please don't ask this. No, but in all seriousness, with your experience, how do you help that transition of the 2 new people that have their ideas, but kind of get them on board? Because I know I'm very proud Salem alum, and I know that people work together for the best of the students. How do you guys help with that? I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot, but how do you say, okay, here's what we do, but here's how we want to work together? Sorry.
Well, I know Dr. Thurston has a lot more experience with this than I do, but I would start first with the Indiana School Board Association provides a great deal of resources and training for current board members and new board members, new superintendents, seasoned superintendents. And I just know from the training that I've already received in the few short months I've been in this position, it is phenomenal. And there are people that are a phone call away. And I think that it would be in our best interest as a new board to attend those trainings and work together about policy procedure, because it is a policy making board. And I know sometimes you get pulled in a lot of directions. So I think learning our roles and how we can pull together and move forward doing what's best for students. We are looking at priorities right now through some facility studies that were done in years past, but recent enough to continue to use those priorities. And the board's been very strategic and very fiscally responsible in making decisions about what needs to be upgraded. And of course, some things are going to show, such as a football field and tennis courts, but other things are building maintenance that has to take place. So again, you have to balance that. And then again, Dr. Thurston and I are working tirelessly on updating policies, and those are things that, that's the bottom line. You go to your policies. So the board is a policy-making board, and we have to make sure our policies are thorough, and you've heard in the last 3 to 4 months, we've been reading lots of them and making sure they're up to date. So I think that's really where it all begins. Some really good solid training and understanding our mission and setting priorities. Dr. Thurston, you want to piggyback on that, because I know you have a lot of experience with lots of different boards.
Well, I would say that patience and listening are really important, and that comes from both sides, whether it's us listening to questions that new board members will have, and over time they'll gain the experience, as we've gained experience on how the schools operate, how Mrs. Myers has a specific area that she's really good at with the grants and the curriculum, and I feel like my strength is in the finance and the operations. And it's a good team, and when new people come on, there's a learning curve, and there was a learning curve when I started some 40 years ago, so you just have to be patient, willing to listen, and willing to help. I think that's the big part of it is you need to be willing to help people understand and help them embrace that position and embrace that responsibility, because it's a big responsibility. And right now we have a really good board, and we work well together, and look forward to the 2 new members coming on and working with them as well.
Right. think that's exactly right. I think, my number one was to ask questions and not for new board members to come on when they come on, because, being on a school board is a total different, than anything else. School corporations, the way they're ran, the way the money, sometimes like you think, well, you got plenty of money over here, but it's not earmarked. It can't be used,
right,
for that, situation. It's earmarked for something else, and there's so much. And that was my big thing. I remember the first time coming into a meeting, I remember just completely just like, what? Wow, you know what I mean? And I think that's the thing that I know that I had helpful people, and I feel like our board will be very helpful to the new ones coming in, and they might have been on boards previously, but this will be a different kind of a board, and it will be something that's learning, and there'll be things that they want to do that maybe they won't be able to do, but they'll be, but that doesn't mean that it's completely stopped. It might be done a little different. So it's exciting, and I think our board that we have currently right now is very close, and I feel like we work well together, very like-minded and working. But again, also that we also are diverse, and that sometimes everybody has their own thoughts, and I think that's a good, healthy. Sometimes my dad was huge on he was over with the IU debate team years ago. So he always likes a good conversation like that, and it's healthy to have that, and that's what you want, different people coming to sit down at the table together and coming up with great ideas. And I think that we've got some new ones, and we're excited about that. And I think that I wish them the best of luck, and I think all of us seasoned ones will be there to help. And I know I would completely say Jill and Thurston will be spot on.
Yeah.
I think they'll be very helpful. So I think
thanks.
they're very blessed to have Jill and Thurston.
Yeah, and I all three of you in this room are powerhouses in my mind. And I have a great deal of respect for all of you. Some I know longer than others, but I already know that this group in here I get the opportunity to sit with, it will make that work. I just asked that question because that was the race everything looked at. Every precinct that came in, the top four, it was so close in that 3, 4, 5, 6 range that it was interesting, and so I had people, and Becky had people asking also during the broadcast, where's it stand? Where's it stand? And we were, and as things kept coming in, it was just like fluctuating so much. I thought that was, and it's kind of interesting for, we had the national stuff going on, but for a countywide race, it's kind of cool that the school board race is the one everybody's talking about. You had 9 candidates. Yeah. You had people that really wanted to serve and in an unpaid position. But that was the one everyone's like, where are we at now? Where are we at now? And I think that's a great thing, that's the race that people were talking about in the county and our local voters.
That's off to the 9 people that put their name in the hat. We talk about that all the time, and every one of us, we're in a different world that, and sometimes, in social media, people, are not always the nicest, and it's not always the easiest, and sometimes the decisions can be tough. So hats off to nine people that did that and stepped up to be a servant leader, and be a part. So that's encouraging.
Yes.
You want people to come out. You want people, so for those, hats off to all of them that did. So I think with Salem School Corporation too, in talking about policies, things change, and I think that you brought up a good point that, and keeping in the know and keeping up with the policies and stuff. And Jill and Kim, I will give you guys hats off because you guys do a fantastic job keeping everybody where we need to be. But kind of talk about how often and things kind of change. And of course we are, we get a lot of rules and guidelines from the state. So explain how some of that kind of works, I guess.
Well, right now, with policies, typically you do have to follow legislation. Yeah. And we have a great company that works together with us to develop our policies, and then we also have school board attorneys and counsel that help out from the state. So that is one thing that keeps us in check. And then when there's changes with leadership, sometimes the policies fall behind. So we've been doing a lot of updates, and those come out about every 6 months. So you do want to make sure that you're reading through. There are a lot of options and wording and language, but that's what people go to. So when you have a situation, you do go to your policy and you try to follow it to the best of your ability, and sometimes there's discretion up to the superintendent. And then, we work through guidelines, administrative guidelines as well. So most of that does come through legislation, and then it's up to us to implement it. And I think we've done a great job of updating and trying to keep the board informed, and those are available on our website at all times. So it's just really nice to know that that's something you can fall back on. And if as a group we decide that we need to make changes, then we're able to do that too. So there is some leeway. Usually it's, an initiative, a guidance, or a law that we do have to implement, and then we have our own twist that we can put on it for Salem Community Schools to make it work for us.
That was a good way to explain it. Yeah, and I think a lot of times that gets kind of confusing, but it's always nice to have those in place that if you need them, there they are, to utilize.
A question will come up, for example, field trips. That's just one, for example. And I'm like, well, let's look at the policy. We looked at the policy, and it's still up to date, and we've done our updates to it, and that's what we follow. And that's just really nice when either a teacher has a question or a parent has a question, we can go to the policy.
Love that.
It's not the most exciting thing
to
do,
no.
but it is important, and it is critical to stay updated and current with what the legislation and the laws are, and because they're constantly changing with each session in Indianapolis, so
right,
it is important.
But we do appreciate when you read those.
Well,
yes,
thank you, Becky.
They're a little overwhelming, aren't
yes,
they?
They are.
Just wait until December.
So what? I understand policies update a lot because I'm a policy procedure, kind of driver with things in my normal job. But when it comes to education, being, this may sound like a silly question, but and what policies change the most in education based on your experience, or need updating the most, or kind of you have to revisit the most, I guess? Is that
what have you seen in years past? I feel like consistently right now it's been hiring processes and background checks, personnel, and then student supports. Anything that has to do with students' special education, discipline, expulsions, suspensions, things like that are always being updated. Anytime that there's, any kind of change with the law, then it trickles down into those policies. I don't know over the years, though, probably still the same thing. I'd say probably personnel.
Yes, personnel, I'd say personnel's out front. Sometimes now there's social change going on right now with, don't want to get into it really specifically, but gender changes, gender legislation, and you have to stay current with that, need to stay current with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think, even, our clerk, Stephanie Rocky, was talking, her policies and what they're doing, their procedures, had changed quite a bit. Just this new election, of course, you have more people that are coming out, and and some of the policies as far as like the things that they had to, for security. And I think we were all, security would be a big one too, that we've all had, it's not something we wanted to do, it's just something we've had to do, to be a part. And I think we've done above and beyond to keep safe and make changes on that. And we know that. We know some of the structures of our buildings, some of the older ones, that we had to change a little bit and how we did things. And that was all taken in consideration.
Yes, and then again, just deadlines from the state. Like each year, we are to review our emergency preparedness plans 90 days after school starts, and the superintendent's responsible for making sure that information goes to the state that they have been reviewed. That's also a policy. When you're hiring a school resource officer, you have a policy about their training and what the expectations are. So really, as things change and evolve, we continue to do that too.
Right. Well, it's definitely exciting, and so and I appreciate you guys, answering those. We kind of got over some of the. It's always interesting, though, and kind of letting the listeners know what goes on, and how it goes on, and all of the detail that goes on throughout the day, on a normal day, right?
Yes.
So let's jump in and let's talk. Okay, and we got a tennis court that's coming, that's looking beautiful. How exciting!
Yes, well ahead of schedule.
Thanks
to the weather.
Yeah.
Great weather.
And Dr. Thurston's been supervising the work there along with Hank Whedon and Joe England, so I'll let Dr. Thurston give an update on the expectations of the finish timeline.
Well, they're on the verge of, they've completed, it appears they've completed the concrete work. I was out there yesterday looking around, and they will. The fence posts are up, and we have a nice black vinyl fencing.
Beautiful.
And what they will do, you have to have a long period of mild to nice weather to put the finish coat on the courts. So they're going to do that in the spring when the weather comes back. But for now, when they finish the concrete surface and they have everything ready to go, they will paint a tennis court on there with the nets so it can be used. It'd be a concrete surface. But then this spring they'll come back and they will apply the finish coat, the topping you see on tennis courts around that are similar. So we're looking forward to that. That's exciting. So it'll be a very nice facility when it's finished, and the outdoor areas are really starting to look, with the playground at the elementary school, going to the football field, and then the tennis courts. We're really beginning to make a lot of progress in the aesthetic appearance of the grounds, and it's nice. We're excited about it. Looks good.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's the tennis courts. The community uses that too,
Yes,
right?
they do.
There's not a
We encourage them to use it.
That's great. So, and maybe this may be a crazy question, but over the winter until we get to spring for that extended period of nicer weather, does what they paint now kind of help that concrete over the winter to protect it a little bit, or?
I don't know if it helps protect the concrete so much. It's a special mix of concrete that's harder than what you put on your driveway or you might use in a building, but it'll allow us to utilize the courts, and
Might help solve an argument of
Yeah.
if the ball was in or out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I'm telling you, Becky will argue every time.
That's right. that's
Clearly
right.
out.
Yeah. Well, I think it's beautiful, and and it was really, that's been really a lot of fun to watch.
Yes,
This has been a lot for our community. Pouring the concrete like at midnight. Watching that being done, and how exciting, and of course, these are professionals, and they make it look easy, and what they're doing and how they do it. But I think everybody. I had so many people say when we were doing the football field, they have to drive by every day just to see the process and see what's going on. So I appreciate you letting us know where we're with that, so that the lines that they're going to see coming on is not the permanent lines. It's just to get us to spring.
It's just to get us to the spring. With the football field, I was talking with Hank Whedon the other day, and he had been talking, and there's several turf fields in the area around us. Some of the conference schools have been installed turf. Of course, the big schools have had turf for a while, but Hank was talking with a team of football officials that he's real familiar with, and they have officiated on pretty much all the turf fields in this area in southern Indiana, and they said that without a doubt our field's the nicest one that they've officiated football games on. So this company, Hellas Construction Incorporated, they're an outstanding company, and they've done a fantastic job with the football field, and we have the same expectation with the tennis courts as well.
Right. I think I told you, I have, I'm a Colts affiliate. So I called them to tell them about our turf, and we were talking about it, and they said, well, we got new turf too. And I said, ours is really prettier though. Ours looks better. And I'm sorry, I think ours is absolutely beautiful. It's stunning.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. And that's, and I think everybody's been happy about that.
Yeah.
I think not just the quality and the work ethic, but also just the design team, giving us some ideas about how we can make the tennis courts even more aesthetically pleasing, because you're going to notice some things. I hate to give it all away, so we'll keep it in suspense as you drive by. But again, just making it maintenance free,
right?
And hearing the input from our custodial staff, and really listening to what our budget is, and knowing what we can and can't do. So they've been just great to work with all the way around.
Our custodians are the best of the best.
Oh, yeah.
They are.
And
Absolutely.
you talk about why the buildings look so good. These are the guys and gals that do this. You know what I mean?
Right.
And our buildings are older, and our equipment. They've been around for a while. We definitely get our money's worth out of whatever we do, but they do such a great job maintenance. you know.
Yes, absolutely.
And so a big shout out to them. I'm a huge fan, you know. So yeah, they are, and you talk about top notch. They do above and beyond. So so exciting on the tennis court coming up, and of course then with the football field we also have the press box will be coming before too long too.
Yes.
That's
Oh,
exciting.
yes. They're tearing down the old one
Yeah.
presently, and
Yeah.
we should have the first target date was the middle to the end of this month, so I would think that by the end of the month we hope to have the new press box installed.
I think those would be. I have tears of joy.
I bet you do.
Yeah, that is something that has been long overdue and
It'd be
very
nice.
exciting to see this,
Yeah.
and for everybody. And we have a lot of not just my broadcasters too, but we have other broadcasters. We have youth, we have kids,
Sure.
and this is going to be so much better. And I'm so happy about this. And there were some concerns, but I love that we're addressing it and taking care of it. So what a blessing. Yeah, so exciting.
Very exciting.
Yeah. All right. So we've kind of talking about the, some of the things coming up, and of course, let's talk about some. We're right now we've had fall break. So is this the long stretch? I can't remember. When's that long? Is that after?
This is actually going to go so fast because of Thanksgiving break and Christmas break. Our long stretch will be in January.
Okay, that's the one.
Yes.
That's the one that everybody's chugging.
Yes.
Chug.
Right.
But yes, fall break came and went super quickly. So we're into our second quarter, which will end when we go on holiday winter break. So.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
Yeah. So how are we doing? And Jill, you had an exciting. You had a little bit of the hurricane with your.
Yes, I did.
You know what I mean? And then I had a little bit with mine. So
Yes.
So you and I have both had very exciting spring or fall breaks.
Yes,
definitely.
didn't quite go as planned for either of us, but we're both home safe and sound.
That's exactly right. That's what matters. Yeah.
Yes.
So whenever the kids come back, and have you heard any from the teachers? Are they ready to get?
I think they came back. They were well rested. This is kind of, it's an exciting time, but I do think with the time change, everybody's sleepy and tired again.
Yeah.
Even though we gained an hour, but it's just dark so much earlier.
Yeah.
And so this is usually pretty quiet time.
Okay.
I think our big celebration coming up is the Veterans Day program at Brady Shrum. So we're really excited about that on November 11th, and we hope that everybody can join us locally and in the community. I think I have a time here now.
9 a.m. I know.
Yes.
Andrea.
9 a.m.
Yes, 9 a.m.
Yes.
So on a side note to that, if you're having a bad time about anything, go to an elementary school program of any kind.
Yes.
And you talk about joy and smiles and just make you feel good about anything. So any of the community members that can get out to that, and especially how important Veterans Day is, go. I mean that's a gift from above there when you got an elementary school program. So
I'm super excited about it, and I found out my dad will be part of it, or they turned his name in. He's passed, but they turned his name in, and I think they said they'll have like 250, maybe. They'll have like a reel of different names, and I'm so excited about that, and what an honor, and I love that so much. And talk about, again, not only are we talking about election, showing our children, but these are things that we're teaching and having these programs, and it's put on by the fifth graders.
Traditions and legacies that need to continue. I have a little highlight here. It says the program's going to include patriotic music, inspirational messages from students, and a slideshow containing photos of veterans related to students and staff. Noah Cobb, our very own 5th grade teacher, will be our special guest speaker, and he is currently in the Indiana Army National Guard C Troop 152, and then the Boy Scout Troop 4029 will present the colors. So
excited
it will be a fabulous day. I know last year it brought me to tears. So
I know. I was gonna say I'm gonna be crying.
So moving and inspirational, but so happy, but also just really pulls at your heartstrings as you watch and listen.
Right. We're gonna give a shout out to Andrea. She does a fantastic job.
She does a great job.
And I love that and they're gonna be doing the songs, the patriotic songs, and I know the 5th graders and some of the there will be some other grades too involved, but learning those songs and getting those near and dear to your heart, those are songs that you'll forever, keep. And so I encourage everyone to come to the program, and it's going to be a good one.
It will be, yes. So again, November 11th at 9 a.m.
Yeah. And also, I'm going to side note real quick. at 11 a.m. Don't forget that on the courthouse lawn will be the Veterans Day program for our county, and it will be at 11 a.m. It's always at 11:11. And afterwards at noon, the ladies of the auxiliary will be feeding, so then they can really cook. So they've got good food. So I encourage everyone, and it's fun too. It's good fellowship to go after the program. So yeah, and I love that. You know, that's something that we talk about, that, and I don't want to, that we have not let go. Our community has held strong to this, and I feel like this is something we should never let go.
Absolutely, and actually all 3 schools, we are working on a designation from the state, because we would like to do an even better job of recognizing our in-house veterans, currently serving, and our community members and parents. So we're working toward a Purple Star designation for our schools, which requires us to do even more for the community of our veterans currently serving.
I love that.
Too. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah. Keep reaching, right?
That's right.
Yeah, onward ho. So also, let's talk about testing. Where are we at on testing? Are we doing any testing or anything?
So right now we are a pilot for the Indiana iLearn checkpoints.
Okay,
so
now you're going to have to go in detail.
I am going to give you the big overview here.
Okay.
So all students in grades 3 through 8 take the iLearn in the spring, and that is our summative assessment. It's pretty high stakes. I think students feel a lot of pressure and stress. So I love the fact that we are now doing checkpoints. So they just are finishing up their first checkpoint. So windows open from the state. The test is modeled after the summative assessment, and teachers are seeing blueprints of what they should be covering and having students prepared to test on. And you take one in, it opens up in September, closes in November. So right now we've taken our first checkpoint, and then those students will have an opportunity to be grouped based on some remediation, or if they did really, really well, enrichment, and then they can retest on those same skills again later, and we have until the end of the year to do so. A second window opens up end of November, and we take a second checkpoint, and again, it's very specific on what we should be covering. So we're not necessarily teaching to a test like we used to feel like we had to do. We shouldn't be doing, but sometimes you feel that pressure.
Yeah.
Basically, you're doing what you should be doing all along because you're teaching the standards. But the state is giving us a little bit more of an order, a little bit more of a blueprint. And then we'll take a third checkpoint in the spring, and then we'll take the summative assessment in the window between April and May. So I think this is a great opportunity for students to maybe get their test anxiety out, and they get second opportunities, and it's great for our teachers to have more data. I actually met with 3rd grade yesterday along with the elementary team, and we talked data, and they're digging into it deeply because now we have this data. We already take an NWEA assessment, which is more of a benchmark assessment at the beginning of the year, the middle of the year, and the end of the year. So we just have even more data to tell us which students are struggling, which students are at risk, which students are on the bubble and could pass if they just got that push, and then which students are already excelling and need enrichment. So great opportunities for us. It is a pilot, but almost, from what I heard from Dr. Jenner, is a lot of schools opted in, so it's become more of just a practice.
Yeah.
So, but this year it is a pilot, and again, a great opportunity.
I love the checkpoint. I mean, isn't that great?
It's great.
Because I think that's something too. You know, every child is unique, and every child, but to see growth, that's, and see that child taking from one point, going from point A to point B, and and going on further, or maybe if there is a little bit of a maybe where they need a little help, going back and being able to do that. I love that so much, and
yes,
that's attention to detail.
It is, and I think another thing that I shared with the teachers, and I want to share with the community, is Salem Schools is more than a test score.
Yeah.
You take one test, and so much depends on that one test. Mm-hmm. And the work that I see going on in the classrooms every day, and the work that I know the administration team is doing, we're more than a test score. Yeah. And I said something else that we need to focus on is not just proficiency rate. We know that a lot of schools, good friend of mine, Chris Wood, she's the assistant principal at South Ripley, they are top-notch in the state in so many grade levels, getting lots of state-level recognition. Their kids are no different than our kids. Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of honing in on what we're teaching and honing in on what we need to reteach and spiraling back every single day. But I think what we need to focus on more than just a proficiency rate is growth. Like you said, it's all about growth. And the state will be giving us more growth model data That kind of went away when we had COVID and we didn't have our test scores.
Yeah.
So we may have some students who will never pass the iLearn, may never pass the iLearn, and that is okay because they're growing.
Right.
So we need to celebrate growth, and I think Brady Shrum and Salem Middle School are going to see so much growth. And we have to pay special attention to our special education population because they test differently. They receive accommodations throughout the year, and we need to make sure our kids know how to use those on a high stakes test. So lots of things go into that, and it's more than a test score.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, for sure. And I think that's, and I'm so glad that we make sure we say that louder for the people in the back to hear, to make sure that they realize that, how valuable and how, how wonderful our teachers
Absolutely.
and students
Hats
are.
off to the schools who have these great high proficiency rates, but also hats off to schools that are growing. So
Absolutely.
And thank you for explaining that for those of us who are not in the day-to-day and understand that. And as a parent, you want to understand that. So thank you for explaining that, because that's important. But I think that also that's easy to understand for some of us that are a little slower, as far as it absolutely what's important is the growing aspect of that. And you mentioned something about celebrating the wins, whatever they are, and just understanding. And so, growing is at least not going backwards. And I think all too often, not just social media causes this, but in life and the way things are, we focus on this when we don't focus that we're taking a step at a time, and everything in life has got to be a forward step at a time, however big your step is. And thank you for explaining that,
when you're much
I think that's important.
Bigger school within a county, and your special education population needs a lot of attention, and a lot of students with 504s who fight test-taking anxiety, test-taking skills. Again, you have to look at the small wins along the way too. And our students should all be being very, very, very successful because we've got everything in place to make it happen.
And I think it's more realistic. I mean, it's something, it's something that these are all doable, you know what I mean? And I think it makes it nice it's great for the student to realize that, that it's all okay, you know what I mean? Everybody learns different. And I think we've come a long way, we talk about how everybody learns, and we have some great learning, teachers that have, that are there to help. But I think that's something we really focus on. Don't you feel that way?
Yes.
At Salem Community Schools?
I mean, there were teachers yesterday in that data meeting, when you look at your scores, because the first checkpoint, it's rough to give something already in October when you've not been in school but 9 weeks. And we had some teachers that were in tears because they care about their kids so much. They care about their kids so much, and they want to make sure that they're seeing success. So, we looked at those scores, and we know we have work to do, but then we also looked at the state average. When the state is averaging at 21% passing that first checkpoint, that's sad too. So we know that there could be just, the test may just have some errors as well, and it may be working at a higher level than what grade level we're testing at. So I know that the state's consistently looking at those changes too, and asking teachers for input. They want teachers to read the questions. They want teachers to interpret the data. So it's kind of just this big wraparound that everybody has to work at together.
Right. We see it like in kindergarten, to the test, and just, and it's so much more than what it used to be, and I think that's something that sometimes that pressure, and you talk about students maybe that are a little bit intimidating and taking tests, maybe they do know the material, but testing can be, very, very scary, and I think realizing that, and also doing the pre-checks will make them feel more comfortable, and kind of feel like
a lot of practice. Because also too, the test is online, and I don't know about you, I am tech savvy to an extent, but when they tell me I can use a ruler and a highlighter and a calculator, and I maybe don't know where to find all those, or I forgot, or I'm in the middle of, and I only have so much time, I may forget how to use those tools. So it's not paper pencil anymore. It's also a skills test on how to use technology. So imagine a third grader trying to type an open response to a writing prompt when they don't even know where all the letters and keys are yet. So we talked a lot about that too, about just the tech part of being able to take tests and practicing that even more. So.
But I think it's fantastic. And we've also talked about too, like we know, like, after college or after high school, we've talked about other skills that are possible instead of, maybe if they're not wanting to go to college. I feel like that's been really brought to the forefront. Do you feel?
Yes.
That's really, I mean, and I feel like as a school corporation, we've really hammered down and worked hard to give options. And
we're going to have to address that even more with the new diploma track.
Yeah.
New diploma, they're taking input now, so be sure to check that out at the IDOE. But they are looking at, and this will go into effect. It's legislation that we do have to adopt a new diploma, and it has changed slightly, but it has a lot more opportunity, I feel like, for flexibility for students who don't want to go to college. There's absolutely the college track, which I know that's been an item of contention, that there's no more honors diploma, but there is, and there are seals that you can earn even when you're deciding to go with the college track. But then there's also the track to go straight into employment, and it's going to be partnerships with our community on providing opportunities for students to learn work-based learning.
I love that.
And then there's an opportunity for enlistment. So those students who want to go into the military, there are opportunities that we should be taking care of in high school for that too. So a lot of flexibility coming up with the new diploma.
Oh, that's awesome. That's very exciting. Yeah, for sure. Well, I know a lot of our businesses will very much appreciate that, because I feel like, you see, people hiring all around looking for, employees, and if they can get someone, ready to go and good career opportunities for them.
Yes.
So that's
exciting.
Yeah, it is. And I think I like our approach. I like our mindset. I like that we're thinking about that, and everyone matters, and everybody's needs are taken care of.
And for parents out there, the new diploma is going to be our current 8th graders.
Oh.
So when they enter high school next year, unless there's a change with timing, that will be the new diploma track with our current 8th graders.
Okay, that's good to know that. Yeah. Now, going back on some of the different, I guess, thoughts and stuff, how are we, and I know we don't, want to go back too far, but let's go back, like, on the COVID and everything. How are we, did we, as a state, and I'm going to, because it's not unique to all schools are the same in this, are we kind of caught up, or are we still seeing, like, some of that where...
I think the last thing that came out from Dr. Jenner is we are making progress, but it's very little progress. It's coming in very small increments. I think that she will continue to track that. I think we've made greater progress, I believe, in mathematics than in English language arts, but we are still very, very far behind.
Well, I wondered on that, because I know that that was something that really took a big hit. And I think you have to realize that, and then I know for the teachers, I know that's been a lot.
And I think it's still affecting even our graduates that graduated that year, because I hear about those kids now who, they're still not sure they're doing what they should be doing because they didn't get to make that decision properly with a lot of guidance. So
that's interesting.
I think we're still going to see that down the road.
Yeah. Well, it was something, and that's history. I mean, that's part of it. This is part of, but you try to find the positives. We did learn some things. We learned, maybe how to do things a little different, but we survived. And it's just interesting to go back to see how, as a school corporation, how everybody was affected.
Seems like a fever dream at this point, doesn't it? Yeah. But it really did happen.
Yeah. A nightmare.
But I think outsider looking in, parent looking in, I think some positives that you're thinking about is you just realize that it's not, and I'll use myself for example in my work life, we got to pivot sometimes, and that is not always the easiest thing to do. But in addition to that, it really, I know there was people frustrated and upset, but to me, people in education, whatever they did, came out warriors. It showed who's in it to win it, as far as, we're changing, we're pivoting, but, at the end of the day, I think, especially our local schools, and we're not the only ones, but just really said, okay, it's about the kids. We're going to do whatever. And I wish we were catching up more, but the commitment to what did happen kept us from being further behind. In my opinion, again, parent looking in, outsider looking in, and I think the folks that came through that and are on the front lines in education, have got to celebrate that as a win. It may be smaller than we'd like, but still, that's a win because that's a commitment to our kids, and that's the things we need to celebrate instead of saying, well, why didn't you do this differently? Because COVID businesses, schools, everything, we were powerless in a lot of ways on how we had to respond. We just had to make do. And I'll tell you, none of us have ever had anybody hand them on your first day of work, whatever it is, well, here's your pandemic manual. Here's what you're going to do, and I think we need to celebrate that our fallout could still be a lot worse if there wasn't great educators, Salem, other schools, and things like that, who really were warriors to me. Yeah. Everybody doing everything. Folks that kept the building safe, to what we were allowed to do, and the students safe. So that's just my personal opinion.
Well, and then the information. I'll get off this, but would change. At within an hour, you'd hear one thing, and then in an hour it'd be another thing, so everybody was, and nobody, knew, but we survived, and we did good, and we know that the teachers that are in education are there for the right reason. You can't question that, you know what I mean? Because they went through a lot, and talk about warriors right there. We had some great warriors, and we appreciate that. And I think, you saw that meme where, parents were, as soon as school would open up, they pull up and throw the kids out. They were then drive on. I think Brad was one of those parents.
Oh, yeah.
So
what are we working on today? Yeah.
Second roll, Grayson.
Second roll, absolutely.
Today we go back. At the end of every summer, we see that every summer's over.
Yeah, but there was some times during the beginning of that I can remember. Are we home again today?
Oh, you did.
You developed an even greater respect for
education.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I think we all did.
Absolutely. Yes.
For sure. But anyway, so it's exciting though. We are here today, and it's nice to kind of go back and kind of understand things a little bit more, and change your sales, the way you do things, and like we talked about policies, the way it's always revisiting. And I think the number one thing my pediatrician told me, and this has been, and I think in everything, you're a good mom, because I always question myself, because I always making sure I was good, and she said, you're good because you are questioning yourself. You're always seeing, how can you do better? Am I doing enough? Am I doing it right? And I think as our school corporation, I think we do that. We revisit, we see what works, what doesn't work, what works best for our students, and everybody has a role, and everybody has a big purpose to be there, if you will.
Yes.
So I think I want to get that across. I think that's something that we really excel on, for sure.
Absolutely.
So, all right, let's jump in. What else we got going on? Anything else then?
So winter athletics are kicking off soon.
Okay. What are we talking about? Basketball?
Thursday night we have a girls game.
Can you hear it, Kim? That basketball dribbling.
We have a girls game Thursday night already.
I know.
Yeah, that's
We're excited. The WSLM will be there. We got Kelsey Newkirk and her husband. It's a married couple. They're her and her husband, and they the Newkirks Dawsons. Sorry about that. Anyway, we're excited, and they're chomping at the bit, so we're excited. And we also have a new coach too, Thompson.
Yes.
Which is exciting.
Yep. So looking forward to that. And then boys basketball, their first game is November 27th at home against West. So that will be an exciting, fun game as well.
Now, is that the one? And that's right. That's when everybody comes. The alumni.
That's the night before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, that's the alumni. Everybody comes in from the alumni for that. Yeah, that's a big time. That's very exciting. Yeah.
A rivalry the day before Thanksgiving. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Wrestling was supposed to kick off November 22nd, but they have moved that meet. It was to be at Madison, and that's been moved. So I think their first meet will be in December. So we'll make sure we get that out. And then varsity swim, their first meet is November 25th away with Northeast Du Bois. So lots of sports kicking off in the next couple of weeks. So that's exciting.
Very exciting for sure. Yeah. Well, we've had a lot, with the fall sports, telling them, kissing them goodbye, and very proud of our, our football team, our volleyball team. I'm trying to leave anybody out. We've had some great, our cross country. I mean, we've had some really good, and
making it to the finals of sectionals, and
I know.
Some moving on to regionals for other leagues. So yes,
exciting.
Lots of exciting things.
Definitely. So a lot going on, and it's good to hear. And I think everybody's ready for getting into some different sports too. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got, Jill?
Oh, let's see.
Time gets by so fast. I know.
I know. What else did I have down here? We had a really great turnout. I wanted to make sure that I thanked parents for parent-teacher conferences. We were super intentional this year. A lot of parents do love open house style, and we normally get the parents who we don't even really need to see because their students are doing so well. But we're so glad they came too. But we were really intentional about students who were at risk to fail or failing. And I think we had one of the biggest turnouts ever at the middle school and high school. So I appreciate the teams. I know that all the teachers worked together with the administration to find a focus group of students to reach out to. Those calls were made. Conferences were held in person, over the phone, via email, via Google Meet. So keeping parents informed is probably the most important thing we can do. And we certainly don't want our first contact to be something negative. So I'm just so excited that we had a great turnout. I hate to say, sometimes I feel like our conferences could even happen earlier, because if you're already failing after the first quarter as a high schooler, it's really hard to turn that around and get a passing grade. But we'll continue to monitor that and work on that. And I know that midterms are another way that we communicate with parents. And then we had an absolute phenomenal turnout for our family night at BSE for Title I. I believe over 800 people came to the Fall Festival. So again, I feel like the community engagement piece, we're coming out of the COVID piece, and people are excited to be coming in person. They want to see where their kids spend their time during the school day, and we heard multiple compliments on the Fall Festival Title I night. So very exciting.
We always preach that. I love the relationship between, the parents or the grandparents or whoever, with the teacher. Get to know your teacher, get to be, and have that conversations, and I love that I guess the networking of the two together.
Yes, which leads right into all three schools are family-friendly schools, designated family-friendly schools. We just reapplied, and we hope that we receive those designations again, but it's up to us on our end to make sure that we have opportunities for community and family engagement, and that's one of the biggest pushes, one of our biggest goals.
And that would be like, kind of give us some examples. What are we looking at?
When we have our orientations at the beginning of the year for those transitional grades, like 5th graders going into 6th grade, 8th graders going into 9th grade, when we have our freshman orientation, just that whole grade level as a group, any kind of open houses that we have, any kind of band concerts, choir concerts, Title I, with BSE being a school-wide Title I school, we are obligated to do at least one Title I night, but our staff is ready to do one every quarter. So I know right now we're planning already for January for the next semester, and last year that was a glow night, and the kids absolutely loved it. So again, just getting back into making sure we have those opportunities. Also meeting our families right where they are. We have some students who have moved in and who are multilingual, and we're working on reaching those families, taking a lot of training on how to service our students who are EL learners. And also too, anytime a special education student or a student with a 504 has a family member come in and meet with us, it's working as a team to make sure we've got the best accommodations in place and that we're meeting everything that student needs. So lots of opportunities for engagement.
Love that.
And that's important for parents to understand, that them and the school, they're on the same team.
Absolutely.
They want what's best for their kids, and the opportunity to kind of break down those barriers. Not that there's barriers, but for parents to understand, this is, and there's nothing better when that light bulb goes off and you're like, they're an advocate for my kid too. And I encourage parents to get involved, ask questions, and that's great to hear all of that positive stuff, because we're on the same team working for what's best for our kids.
And I also want to make sure that parents who receive their students' iLearn scores from last year, if their students did not pass English, language arts, and math, they have an opportunity to receive $1,000 from the state for tutoring. And CAST has made a strong connection, as always, with us, and we are getting ready to kick off groups to tutor at the elementary school and the middle school. We have a large number of students who qualify, but very few who have secured spots. So we have tutors ready to go. I'm actually one of them. I'm going to tutor on Fridays at the middle school, so I'm really excited about that. But we have lots of teachers ready to tutor, and the money is there. We just have to make sure that parents secure it, and those students are going to get just what they need to do even better in the classroom and on the assessment and in life.
What a blessing.
Yes.
And speaking of that too, you know, I'm a huge fan of CAST, and we have Cassie on and talk, and and I love how many teachers we have that are the volunteers and go above and do help with the tutoring, help, and also advancing themselves to be, you know.
Because the teachers have to take a lot of training.
I know.
In order
yeah.
to be able to tutor for CAST.
Yeah.
And if it's either the English language arts or the math or both, it's 20 hours of training.
Yeah.
Some people have 40 hours finished with very research-based practices and being able to give those students exactly what they need, those foundational skills they may have missed along the way.
Right. I love that. Well, hats off to all of them. Yeah.
Yep.
And I love the tutoring to help out. That
Yep,
is such
we're
a
kicking
blessing.
that off, I believe, next week. So if you have any questions, if you're listening and you think your student may be eligible, either call your student's school or call Cassie at CAST, and she will look into that for you.
Love that. Love that. All right. So, and we, I feel like every time that we have Salem School Corporation on, we need to tell, we also are free lunches and free meals. And how wonderful is this? How have you seen, like, is everyone eating now? Are we?
We look at the reports each month. I feel like the food services is a busy place.
I love that.
Very busy place.
It's such a blessing.
Yes, and my gosh, the students have opportunities like the chicken wings bar, the baked potato bar, pizza bar. I can't imagine why you wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
But I would always like to see more students eating breakfast.
Well,
Breakfast is available, but I don't think all students take advantage of that, or as many as should, because that's the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
And your brain's already hungry, so you're not going to learn if you're not fully nourished. So I hope that more students will take advantage of the free breakfast. I do think the lunches are going over really well.
I've heard wonderful. Yeah, I think there's great. Well, you know, we used to talk about how if for whatever reason, you know, they didn't have those lunches and, you know, trying to do, you know, homework or math, you know, and having that hungry, you know, feeling. And so I just think this has just been hats off to that we can accommodate and do this for our students. I
Yes.
love it. Yeah.
And thanks to Karen and her staff,
Yeah.
again, working with the administration team, because to be able to identify and get our percentage up where we
Yeah.
meet the quota to do that.
I'm so
Yes.
so over the moon about that. Yeah. So that's anything else, Brad, you got?
No, I've put everybody on the spot enough, I think. But one thing too is keep up the great work. You know, it's such a not being using words here. When it comes to an alum and our community, you know, the sense of lion pride for everything that's going on. You know, I still go back to. You know, you go around and look at the outside things, the tennis courts, the new football field, and just if you take a moment, not only the students, that all of those things will make their school life better, but the community too.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing, and keep up the great work. I'm proud to be a Salem alum, very proud.
And we've been very generous, you know, speaking from our safe rooms, you know, for the community. I love the partnership. I know the city of Salem is very happy to work with the schools, and I know there's a good relationship there. And I love that, because should we, you know, we pray there's never an event that, you know, that you have something, but we have our safe rooms, we have our tennis courts, we have our football. I mean, these are all utilized, you know, from our community, and we encourage the community to use these. So
Yes.
I love the
Yeah.
working together, the networking there.
Yeah.
So, Jill Myers, keep up the great work,
Thank you.
and thank you for all you do. And Thurston, you know, I'm a Thurston fan. Keep up the great work,
Thank you, Becky.
keeping those numbers and keeping us financially, you know, telling us when we can spend, we can't spend.
That's what I like to do.
I'm glad you don't do that at my home.
Yeah. And she means that too. And you know, it's interesting. He's not just a numbers and finance guy. He's the numbers and finance guy. So
absolutely.
if you ever have any questions, he's the one to ask.
Yeah.
for
And then,
sure.
Brad, I got to give a shout out again. The best Walmart I've ever been in.
Well,
and I
thank you.
hear that
Thank you.
the Dolly Christmas items are in stock. So
Yes.
I will
I've
be
been
stopping
waiting for
by
those
tonight.
Yes.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
It's up in the seasonal section, is like the cast iron and all that kind of stuff. Not that I've checked all that out. So, but that's
Yes,
So,
very excited.
and
you are.
we have great Salem students that have been with Walmart and come to Walmart. So I'm very proud of that. So a great group over there. So yeah.
All right, let's thank our sponsor, Brad.
All right, we've got Meadowview Healthcare, Walmart, Salem Crossing, Hoosier Uplands, Americans for Prosperity, Mama Rose's, Fox for Lee Wealth Management, Dr. Black's Eye Associates, Dr. Mindy Gunn, Marshall Monuments, and McAllister Land Consulting.
All right, Salem Schools Corporation for Education Wednesday. Thanks for coming in, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Got land? Want cash? Vital Farms is here to help. Become an egg farmer and we'll set you up with our best-in-class support team, teach you egg farming our way, and compensate you fairly for the eggs you produce. Call 844-494-VITAL today to learn how you can transform tree-filled or underutilized land into cash flow for your family. Again, our number is 844-494-VITAL, or apply online at vitalfarms.com/farmers.
The Shakaroni is back. Get the extra cheesy, extra pepperoni pizza with extra large slices only from Papa John's. A pizza's.
They have been at this for over 30 years now. I'm afraid this is as good as it gets. The Rick and Bubba Show.
Let's go forward into a brand new hour. Speedy, the real Greg Burgess, Eddie Van Adler, all here. And we say hello and welcome back for a brand new hour. Bill Bubba Buster.
Rick, glad to be here. Thank all of you for being part of the Rick and Bubba experience for 30 years plus.
Babylon B having the time of their life today. We've hit you with a couple of their headlines. Here's one. Donald Trump wins third election in a row.
Oh, that's funny.
And I saw in on the text, interesting, it was someone texting from Florence right there. And let's look at this. It says, my name is Kayla Burgess. I'm from Florence. And believe it or not, my husband's name is Blake Burgess. And said he's never gotten a chance to come, but I actually came to the Golden Ticket seats once, but he never has. And today's our 15th anniversary. Could you please give a shout out? How interesting is that? 1, 2, happy anniversary, baby. I got you on my mind.
Gracious, Greg, their last name is Burgess. Could you
My goodness, Greg, they're probably our cousins.
I did sing. Hummed, I think.
Wow.